Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful Wednesday. We're happy to have you here. Um, we've got Landon Bryant here today to talk about social media. This is one of our next series in our Ask Professional series. Let's discuss social media. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Landon, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Well, hey everybody. I'm so glad that y'all are here on a Wednesday at noon. And I hope that I can offer y'all something out of all of this. So just let me know your thoughts as you're going through it. If you have any questions, let them know and they'll make sure that I understand what's going on. If you follow me, then you know that I can just talk a lot. So I'm just gonna just talk about it as we go along. I can't really see anybody. I'm trying to get logged into a different screen so I can see y'all more and respond because I love to see what y'all have to, how you react and stuff. But let's just walk through it. So this is Ask a Professional. Here we are at a webinar. I would never have considered myself a social media professional until very recently. And I still, what even does that mean, honestly, But here we are. So to introduce myself, I'm Landon Bryant. I'm from Laurel, Mississippi. I am associated with whole schools and with Mississippi Arts Commission from a few different ways. One, through all this, but two, I have taught at an arts integrated whole school, the exemplar whole school, actually, for the last almost 10 years. Laurel Magnet School of the Arts. It was Nora Davis Magnet School of the Arts, but they've really fostered my creativity through that school and whole schools. If you're unfamiliar with them, they promote education in the classroom that's arts education, and I'm a visual art teacher. So we taught academics using the arts. So me and the dance teacher, the music teacher, the PE teacher all would teach what the students were learning that week in their classrooms using our art. On Fridays, we'd use it in our classrooms. We'd work with the teachers to make art integrated lessons. It's a very powerful way to make an impact in education, and our school scores are proof of it. They're one of the top scoring schools in the state. So that's what I've done. And I've been associated with whole schools in the past. And if you come to whole schools conference in the next week or 2 or 3 weeks, Charlotte knows more than me. You'll see me there as well up on a screen a few times, maybe we'll see something about that. But so I am fortunate to have grown up in a place that supports the arts and with organizations like these that supports the arts and MAEA, because whatever it is that this has turned into, this influencer situation, is a direct result of my ability to be creative and practicing creativity. And whole schools and the way our school taught me to teach and think creatively, because those lessons aren't online. You can't just find them on Pinterest. You got to make them up and make those connections yourself. So I had to practice creativity, and that's going to be a theme for the day, is like a systematic practice of creativity. So I taught at school for the longest time. My wife also is a school teacher. She has a specialist degree, so she does all the hard stuff, and she knows a lot more than me about it. But she has been a SPED inclusion teacher for a while, and all this influence and situation started a few years ago when she she's obviously my wife. I think she's very beautiful, but she is usually the Disney princess in the plays that we have around here. So she's sometimes dressed up as Belle or as Joe from Little Women, that kind of a character, right? Well, one of her students had asked her to read to them as Belle, one of the students' parents, to read to them as Belle at a birthday party one Friday evening. And I caught the moment of her dressed as Belle, finally sitting down for the first time and kind of sighing about she made it through the week. Now she's about to go do this. And that video went viral. And I was like, wow, okay, well, I enjoy this. So from then on, I just started sharing things I thought about. And for a while, I was really wrapped up on just like trending things and doing what I thought people would like to see based on what I saw on the internet. And nothing took off really until I finally started being very genuine on the internet and being myself, and until I really leaned into the southernness of this. So we'll get into the slideshow, I guess, and because I could talk about that all the way. But basically, the moment that I started being consistent and started being genuine about myself is when it took off. So that's probably going to be my biggest advice for the day. Anybody who's monitoring the chat, are we good? We got any questions from here? Or we want to go ahead and get into this slideshow?
Don't have any questions yet, but if anyone does have a question for Landon, you can put that in the chat and I will help get that on the screen.
All right, well, great. So, so in February, January, February, I shared a story about Walmart High School. And you are probably familiar with Walmart High School if you're from Mississippi. And if you're not, quick little rundown. When I was in 8th grade, I went to West Jones High School here in the county. And when I was in 8th grade, our school got hit by a tornado. And obviously you can't go to school in a school that's hit by tornado. So they put us in the old Walmart building. We just got a new super Walmart. So they put us in the old Walmart building with cubicles as our classrooms, one giant room. You get hit in the head by a piece of paper. People would start clapping on one side and the whole thing would go clapping. It was chaos. And we pretended we were doing school for like 3 days. And then we just made it through the rest of the year. But I shared that story. And in that story, I accidentally let slip a few Southernisms like fixin' to. And my accent came out a little bit thick when I got to talking about the Walmart. And I noticed that those videos went absolutely nuts. One, because the content. Two, the biggest comments I got were about my accent and about things like fixing to. And I just have to tell y'all, and y'all might be shocked by this too, I couldn't believe that people didn't say fixing to. I didn't know they didn't say it, and I couldn't believe it. And every night, like, I still have a hard time thinking about what you would say instead of fixing to, because I'm fixing to do something at all times. But so then I started from there. That's when I started the type of Southern discussions that we're having, and just discussing the South and discussing this place. And I did it with consistency, and it took off, and I've grown it from there. So hopefully I can share some tips if you're trying to grow your social media from my really insane experience doing this, like just the craziest experience. Even today, I woke up from a message from Jennifer Garner telling me congratulations on a Southern Living article. And that whole statement sounds like an alternate reality that I've made up, but it is real. So finding your social media rhythm. I think this is one of the most important things. And I will be very upfront with y'all. I am very ADHD. I always have been, and is a thing that's kind of defined the things I do in life and the things I can do in life, because if I'm not into it, I'm not into it, right? So consistency is a struggle that I have. But with social media, consistency is the key with a lot of things, with art, with anything that you're doing, you've got to be consistent with it. I struggle with that. Having a systematic process for stuff is not my jam. But I'm trying and I'm learning. And finding your social media rhythm, I think the key to the social media rhythm is just consistency. So we'll talk about this more as we go throughout the day, but you're training, what you're doing as a social media is you're training basically a puppy. You're training an algorithm to recognize you, to understand what you want from it, and to understand what you are from it, and to understand where you go. So you've got to look at it as like you're training a little puppy, and you can't like take one day off from training the puppy. You don't get to take next week off from training the puppy, or it's going to pee all over your house, right? So you've got to think of social media as this little like baby that you've got to teach what you want, teach your preferences, teach it what you want it to do. That's what it's doing. It's learning from you. So consistency is the biggest key. And that can be really frustrating because it seems like a lot, but you got to show up. You've got to be there. The algorithm needs to know that you're going to post around this time every day or every other day, depending on the platform, like whatever you're looking for. So how often should you post on social media? That depends on a lot of things. That depends on which platform that you're on. If you are trying to make a YouTube channel, once or twice a week is probably acceptable for that, and it's going to grow from there. YouTube channels tend to take a lot more editing, a lot more production, so people understand that those aren't an everyday thing. The more you can do, the better on YouTube. But YouTube, you can get away with once a week or every twice, 2 or 3 times a week. But Instagram and TikTok are every day, and that sounds really intense and really harsh, but you can plan your posts ahead of time. But it's an everyday thing. Instagram needs you to be there every day. You've got to think about what they are. They're platforms that are trying to hold people's attention, right? So when people have an expectation for something, they're going to come looking for it, and if they don't find it, Instagram's going to put something else there for them to see, something that's similar to what your niche would be. And niches are a whole thing, right? And we'll get into them, right? So you need to be there. You got to show up every day. You want the same kind of content, the same kind of thing every single day. And that doesn't mean you can't branch out into different types of things, but you and what they expect should be there pretty much every day. And then that bottom point on this one slide, if it isn't interesting to me, is it interesting to others? And that means a few things. First of all, like if it doesn't catch your attention, it's not going to catch their attention, right? Like just glancing at things. But if what you're talking about isn't interesting to you, and if what you're talking about isn't something you're passionate about, they're going to pick up on it. And that's going to bring us to another point about being genuine. People now are looking for genuineness on the internet. They don't want a prescribed formula. They don't want something that feels like an ad to them. They want it to feel like you're talking to them. So if it's not interesting to you, you're probably not going to want to talk about it, and it's probably not going to want to be engaging. So my first tip, I guess if I have tips, first one is show up. You got to be consistent. This is an everyday thing for some platforms. It doesn't mean you have to do it every day. It means you need to have something to post every day, whether you planned them ahead of time or you just make them every day. But then second of all, what you're doing needs to be interesting to you. And if it is interesting to you, you're going to have stuff to say about it. So the content will just come from there. So we can go on to the next slide and see what's got there. So maximizing engagement and making meaningful connections. Okay, so you can have 1 million followers on these platforms, and it doesn't mean anything if nobody's watching your videos and if nobody's engaging with your videos. The number that you're looking for here is an engagement rate. And you can find that in your professional dashboard and in your insights and analytics. There's lots of apps that can show you those things. But your engagement rate is what businesses and brands are looking for. It's also what Instagram and TikTok are looking for when they look to see how your stuff is performing. It is way more important that somebody comments, or really somebody favorites one of those things, or saves one of the things, or shares it, than it is that they like it. Anybody can like it, and that's great. We liked it, we engaged a little bit. But if you take that next step to comment, or that next step to save this for the future, or to share it with a friend, that immediately lets those algorithms know, hey, this is content people want, is some stuff that they're interested in, and it's going to go a lot further from there. If you can get people to save it in the next little bit, then it's going to go a lot farther. And that sounds so ambiguous. Like, how do I make people save it? Back to the first thing, make it interesting. If it's interesting, people are going to want to save it. So to have a successful engagement and a connection, you got to show up. Like we said, it's got to be interesting, but you've also got to engage with the people. The algorithms are literal like things that you can investigate if you're looking into. And right now, and these things change all the time, so you just kind of have to follow along to see how they change. But right now, Instagram especially, and TikTok want you to comment on every comment that you see in the first hour of it. And if you do that, it shows them that you're engaging with the audience, and you've built something that's more than just a one-off, me press a button and I'm done, I'm headed out for the day, right? You've built something that is this engaging thing where people have built a community, because that's what they want, right? So the first hour after you post something, any comments that you get, respond to them as best you can. Even if it's just an emoji, just a little thing, make sure that you respond in some way. If people message you, try to get them a response as best you can. Don't go too crazy with that, because it can be very overwhelming if you try to do that. But comments, try to engage with them, and get those conversations going. And this seems obvious. Some of the stuff seems kind of obvious, but I could show you on my profile videos where I didn't do this and how they performed, and videos where I did do this and how they performed. There needs to be a call to action at the end. And of course, if you're trying to sell something, the call to action can be like, go buy my stuff, right? But there needs to be a call to action for engagement at the end of your video. If I say something like, if I talked about a cover dish lunch, and I just leave it at the things I said, but I don't invite everybody to share with me their rules for a cover dish, it's not going to go as far. But the moment I say that one little thing, it opens people up to be able to comment. The way you need to think about it is, if you come to a comment section and nobody's asked you to be there, there's not been a question asked, and nobody's commented, are you going to be the one to break the ice? Probably not. Less likely than if there's lots of comments there, or if the person given the person in the video asks you to tell them something, then you're welcome here, right? You've made a welcoming space. Nobody wants to intrude on stuff, but people do want a space to speak about things if you give it to them. So give people the space to speak on stuff, invite them to speak on stuff, invite them to share it, but invite them to comment on it. And that is one of the biggest things that will make it. It's like so wild. Go on my profile if you get time and scroll through some of the videos if you have time. And the ones at the end where I have a call to action, are always thousands more, tens of thousands of more engagements than the ones where I don't call anybody to action. And it can be a great video that people loved and shared, but if I don't call you to action, it's just not the same. So the point here is to build engagement, right? So we'll head on to the next slide for a particular audience. Okay, a particular audience. One moment on that thing. Particular audiences. So when you first start this, and you're just putting stuff out there and hashtagging random things, just kind of grasping at what you can, and you don't really have a niche. And that word used to make me so mad because I was like, what is the niche? Like, somebody tell me, I'll do it. Tell me what it is. I'll do the niche. And it wasn't until I landed on the Southern stuff and the discussing of things that I found the niche. But in your niche, before you get to your niche, you'll start putting stuff out there. And that's the scariest part of the internet. When the algorithm doesn't know what you're doing just yet, and it doesn't know who you are and where to put you, it's going to send it to lots of different people. So while you're building your brand to get to your specific niche, I'm going to offer some encouragement, because you'll get to a particular audience eventually if you're consistent with it. And if you stay with what you're doing, you stay on the same topic, you'll get there. But on the way, you're going to meet a lot of characters, because the internet is a weird place. And before you get to a specific audience, the audience is going to be the whole world, possibly. And that's where you're going to have to decide for yourself a few things. Do you care if people think you're silly? Do you care if people are being mean to you about it? Do you care about what people say? Like, all those things, are those things going to affect you? Because if they do, you're going to have to refocus your strategy and be a little bit less intense about it. Or maybe this is not a thing for you, because people do have stuff to say about it and they won't like what you're doing at some point, especially when you're growing it, because it's going to people that aren't necessarily about what you're talking about. So you're going to see a lot of strange people. So you have to come to the conclusion of, I'm putting this out there because I like this. I like what I'm saying. I want to share it. It doesn't matter the response. And if you can get to that point, then none of the haters matter, because this is not for them anyways. And you can turn that off. But you really got to decide in that time period while you're growing to find your niche. One of the biggest challenges is going to be persevering through kind of hate comments. Because they go away eventually, because you'll end up in this niche of people that are looking for your content. So just keep going and keep being consistent with it, and narrow yourself down to what it is that you do best. You can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so strategies to grow your social media following. I'm going to say this so many times today, y'all are going to be sick of it, but consistency is the biggest key. Show up every day. The algorithm needs to know when you're going to do it, and that you're going to do it. Like, for instance, the other day I got so busy and I didn't get around to posting until almost like 9:30 at night. I normally post between like 4 and 7. The video went nowhere at first, and it went like absolutely nowhere. Now they kind of all end up somewhere, because my audience is very large, but I can see what the algorithm thought about them at the beginning, and the algorithm didn't like it, not one bit, that I was so late. So you've got to be consistent with the timing and stay in those time frames, or else it starts all over. So growing a following, increasing engagement, consistency again. I hate to say find your niche, because that's such a frustrating thing to hear when you don't know your niche yet, but finding a niche and narrowing down what you do. And I don't mean Southern or like home decor or education. I just mean your niche of what it is you are to people on the internet. Like, my niche is Southern, but it also is to talking and hanging out and talking with y'all and having little conversations, right? So that opens it up to a whole world of discussions that I can have, even though it is this one specific thing. People know what they're coming to my page to get, pretty much. So you've got to be specific on there. There are things you can do as far, and if you were to type in what to do to grow on Instagram and what to do to grow on TikTok, they're going to say things like trending sounds and trending videos. I've personally not used trending sounds and trending videos, because I'm trying to be extremely authentic on here. I think that it's a very fine line between using those trending sounds and being authentic. And for me, I can be more genuine if it's just what I've got going on that day and not what the trends are on the internet. I don't even watch, don't tell Instagram this. I don't even watch Instagram reels, because I don't want to be influenced by what people are doing on there. I don't want to see what it looks like. I want it to just be what I'm doing specifically. And I'm not saying that's a great idea for everybody. You might be doing something really not at all, but I do watch TikToks sometimes. So I had that I had that background going into the Instagram, and I think that has given me an advantage with Instagram itself. You can get in trouble following and copying people, but in the beginning, if you want to grow your account, look through trending sounds. If you are scrolling through your reels and you hear the same sound 2 or 3 times in one day for the first time, go check it out and see if you can make a video with it. And sometimes those things take off from there. Trending sounds do really well on Instagram. And I think even right now, I get these updates from them every now and then about like creator stuff. And I think they're going to be pushing trending sounds again pretty soon. TikTok is always pushing trending sounds. And if you'll notice, I do way better on Instagram than on TikTok. I've got about like 70,000 on TikTok, but Instagram is where I've built this very engaged community. TikTok is getting there, and I've noticed it's starting to act like the Instagram community recently. But TikTok and Instagram are 2 very different things. So the way to increase your engagement is to, like we said, calls to actions, find your community, find your niche, find the people that are looking for you and invest in them. So the people that show up often, those are who you need to be commenting on. The people that message them back, build that base of really intense followers. Head on to the next slide. Okay, so avoiding mistakes in self-marketing. And there are some pretty big mistakes you can make on social media. Obviously, there's really big mistakes you can make on social media that can end up with you in a whole world of trouble or with a lot of negative attention. But I think the very biggest mistake you can make on social media today is being disingenuine. Is it disingenuine or ingenuine? Not genuine, being not genuine. If you show up as not yourself, it's going to be a whole thing. So we have to think about what the internet is now, right? People my age grew up as the internet grew up, and we watched it behind the scenes grow. People after us, and people after us had a different relationship with it. And then you have to think about influencer situations. The generation below us grew up with a camera in their face, and they didn't really have a choice behind that. And they don't love that now. If you talk to a lot of Gen Z people, they're not stoked on that their lives were put all over the camera. But because they were all over the internet as they grew up, they can sniff out something that's not genuine because their parents were being not genuine, showing their family blogs and things like that all the time. They can sniff that out like that. And they're the next market that's coming up so big. So when you're putting stuff on the internet, you need to think about it from an expert sniffer outer level of genuineness. Does this feel genuine or does this feel forced? They know, they can tell, and they don't want things that feel forced. Their whole attitude, like if you're around my age or a little bit older, we curated this image of ourselves on the internet. We posted only certain photos on Facebook. We only put in aesthetic things on Instagram and certain things on there. But Gen Z didn't have that option. So their image was curated for them. And so now they want not curated images. So what you're going to see in the next few years, I think, and what you are probably seeing now is a lot more authentic looking accounts, a lot more authentic engagement, and people enjoy just authentic people. And on TikTok, that's what goes viral, is people being themselves and being authentic. So I think the biggest mistake you can make in self-marketing is being forced. If forcing it out there, not being genuine, not being yourself, not sticking true to what you think it is. And maybe it doesn't go anywhere at first, but it will if you continue to train the algorithm. It'll get there to where your genuine self is what you're looking for. Writing talent on social media. So I feel like we probably have a lot of writers here. Mississippi has a rich writing history. Writing is what we know, and literature is like what we do, because we've got a lot of stuff to describe. And if you notice on my profile, people love the way we describe stuff. But so if you're a writer and you're trying to use social media, you kind of have an advantage, because right now, one of the Instagram updates about the algorithm is captions. Hashtags are less important. Captions are more important. They want these beautifully written captions. So that's where you can shine, is in those captions, but also writing the scripts itself. That's showing your writing talent. Everything I talk about is writing, even if it's kind of improv. I still wrote it technically. So it's displaying all this out there for people to see the things that I can come up with. So if you're a writer and you're on social media, I think Instagram and TikTok are both really good places for you to be. I mean, Caroline Calloway, if you're familiar with internet scammer culture, Caroline Calloway is a hit. There's some good documentaries about her, but her thing was she wrote these elaborate captions on Instagram, and that's what got her super, super famous. And she got to scam everybody because of that. So writing is the feature of it. The algorithm can see your video, it can read the captions that you made, the closed captions, so it understands what's in there, but what you write in the captions, it takes it as most important. So if you're a writer, you've got an advantage because you know what you're doing writing wise, but captions are where you can really shine. Your caption can't be really too long as it can fit in the requirements, but the more words and the more specific your words are, and less random, like don't just write a random monologue about a bunch of random stuff. It needs to be about the subject so that whoever is reading that caption understands what this video is about specifically. So you can highlight keywords every now and then. Like if I'm doing one, I do want to put the word Southern in there. I want to put the word accent in there. I want to put the word culture in there somewhere and make sure that it sees that. So captions are your friend for writers. There are a lot of book publishers on the internet, and I'm dealing with them now, and it's been very, very exciting. But what I've learned the most from them is that they're, again, y'all are gonna be sick of this, they're looking for genuine stuff that people connect to. They're looking for engagement. They don't care about how many followers you have. They care about the number of people engaging in your content, and that doesn't have to do with your number of followers. That has to do with how many people are following you and how many people are and how many of them are engaging with your stuff as well. So that's what they're looking for. If you wanted to just contact one of the top 5 publishers, like one of the big 5, like Little Brown or Penguin, Hachette, those kinds of places, and you were doing it based off of just your numbers alone, you would need somewhere around 250,000 followers to get their attention. But that's not the way you have to go about it. You can get their attention by just being genuine and exciting, and they can see you that way. It's different if they find you from their For You page and love what you did than if you send them a resume of, and also I have 250,000 followers, or also I have this many on TikTok. Less exciting than if they found you from the For You page. And they're there. There's a lot of them there. They're lurking around watching and looking for the next big thing. So the more you put out there, the more chances that they could see you are. But the best way to engage with those publishers and things like that is to just be so genuine that the For You page is showing you to them. For you for that. Head on to the next slide. And any questions, just let me know. Just stop me. Okay, so making a case for TikTok. So here we are in Mississippi, where sometimes our politics get linked up into stuff, right? And TikTok seemed to have got linked into politics in the past little bit, and it can be controversial to some companies and business people who are not on TikTok. But there is definitely a case for TikTok. TikTok is where the largest audience is. Instagram has a big audience, but TikTok is where the world is at large, and it's where the most people come to see their content every day, really. So if you are running a social media department at a brand or a company, and your admin is not letting you do TikTok, they're like, no, we don't want to mess with that kind of privacy situations. Show them the numbers. TikTok's numbers are massive compared to them. Like, I will have a video go viral on Instagram and it'll get 5 million views, but it can get like 50 million on TikTok if they really go nuts. TikTok is a huge audience, and TikTok is an engaged audience. It's sort of a younger audience, not younger as in like it's young kids, as in my Instagram audience is anybody from really 24 to 95. My TikTok audience is more 20s to 50s, sort of, but it's still a big marketable audience, and it's still an audience with a lot of buying power. But TikTok is where you can be even more authentic, and where if you're trying to break into Gen Z, or if you're trying to break into the next thing, or if you're trying to be on the edge of stuff or be the next big thing, TikTok is where you need to be. That's where people are finding the newest trends. Instagram Reels are where I do my stuff. That's where that's my main spot, right? I like Instagram the most as far as my community goes. But TikTok is where the ideas are fresh. And you'll see if you look at both of them, if you look through Reels and stuff, I don't really watch Instagram Reels, but every now and then people will send me stuff, and it'll be something from TikTok from 3 months ago. Some brand from TikTok from 3 months ago, or even 6 months ago. Instagram is far behind TikTok as far as being up to date. So if you're trying to be on the edge of things, and if you're trying to be there for the next season or for the next market, TikTok is where you need to be for that. It's literally like 3 to 6 months ahead of Instagram. So if you start your marketing on TikTok, build it up there, by the time that thing is popular on Instagram, you'll already have a big audience to take over there with you. So TikTok is where you can grab that huge audience from the very beginning. And there's privacy concerns about TikTok. And what I would say with you about that is they addressed a lot of these things as soon as they had all those hearings. There's been so many updates since then, updates about keeping kids off TikTok, things preventing content from being seen to them. There's updates all the time about it. But we live in a world where our data is sold. That's what these companies do. You're using Google for free, but Google's selling what you searched for to companies that want to know what you searched for so they can sell you stuff. That's the reality of where we live right now. And honestly, like Facebook sold all your data years ago with Cambridge Analytica. So they've seen it before, right? But this is the topic of today, and we are the people that get to work this out. So I'm not saying TikTok is perfectly safe. Facebook is not perfectly safe. Instagram is not perfectly safe. There are data concerns with all of these things. I guess it's just a calculated risk that you all could take. There's some comfort in numbers, right? And half of Americans use TikTok. So you won't be alone if all your data gets stolen. I don't know, that's not the most professional thing to say about it, but I do think that there's a lot of value in TikTok, especially if you're trying to be on the forefront of trends, on the forefront of styles. If you're trying to sell something for the next upcoming season, TikTok's where you're going to do your best, your most work over there. So we'll head on to the next slide. Okay, again, choosing the best social media platform. So comparing Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. So I'm not on Twitter. That doesn't sound like a good idea to hear everybody's thoughts. I don't really get on Facebook as much. I used to get on Facebook, but Instagram and TikTok are where I stay the most, and YouTube. But they all have their different reasons. The audience are different ages. Facebook's audience is the oldest. TikTok's is the youngest. Instagram is between those two. So it depends on what market you're looking for. If your product serves people that are older, Facebook and Instagram are where you need to really, really focus on. If you're looking for a product that services younger people, TikTok, maybe Snapchat, those places are where a lot of younger people are. Twitter seems like a mess. And I don't really know much about it because that seems just writing. But I know that if you're looking for people from the age of about 25 to the 80s, that's going to be Instagram. About 30 above, that's where Facebook is, and anybody below 30 is going to be on TikTok. So it's just what audience that you're looking for is which social media you need to choose. Now, there are differences in them as well. TikTok wants the most genuine version of yourself. TikTok wants not curated backgrounds. TikTok wants there to be a mess on your floor. TikTok wants you to have a zit. TikTok wants you to be yourself, as raw as that can be. Instagram likes a little more aesthetic stuff. They want genuine, but they don't mind if your background was made in Canva and it looks kind of nice. That's a bonus for Instagram. They do want things to look nice. So it's two different vibes. If you want a raw and real vibe, that's TikTok. If you want a little bit more curated vibe, that's Instagram. But don't be too curated or you'll lose your audience. Head on to the next one. Okay, so oh my goodness, I've talked so much. So finding inspiration for content creation, this is the whole thing. This is going to be your specific process. I told you earlier, I have ADHD and my brain works in mysterious ways. My process is a brainstorm. My wife is so incredible with all this stuff, and she has a degree in broadcast journalism, so she has a production background, and she also knows that I'm ridiculous. So she understands to get me to brainstorm by just talking about it. And what we talk about in that conversation may not be what I go talk to this phone about, but it gets the thoughts going. And brainstorm and improv is where I live the most with what I'm doing. But again, just be systematic about it. Find your process, and then it won't be as scary. When I first started doing these every day, I would be stressed about like, what am I going to talk about today? But now, even if I don't know what I'm going to talk about that day on the phone, or if I don't have a video ready, I at least know the process of what it's going to go through. So it's not as scary because I know the result is always the same thing because the process is always the same thing. And my journey in content creation process has been exactly that, a clash of ADHD and nonsense, and it's turned into what it is, and now it is this, and I'm trying to be even smoother with it, and I'm trying to be more prepared with it, but just let it grow organically. I think organic, genuine, consistent, that's the whole thing. Go to the next slide. Okay, so I am an art teacher. So tips for art education and a new art teacher. First tip, go to Whole Schools Institute. It's coming up. Charlotte will tell you more about that, I'm sure. That's where I learned literally everything. I was an alternate art teacher. I did 3 weeks in the summer with the MAPQT and then was given a teaching license. But I also went to Whole Schools Institute that summer, and I worked at a school that teaches that way, and they taught me to teach that way. And if you can think that way, you can start thinking the way that they can teach you to think at Whole Schools Institute, or their materials, their resources. Even if you just reached out to them, they would help you. They're going to be the best resource you can find. Join the MAEA, Mississippi Art Education Association. There's some resources there, but Whole Schools and MAC are really resources that you need to reach out to because they have got it. But my biggest tip for art teaching would be just get ready to be so flexible and love on those kids. With a short class, you can't do as much, right? So they need to learn how to clean up after themselves in the last few minutes. They need to learn how to get in and get out. So again, just like with social media, we're training those kids. You got to be consistent. They need to know what to expect and what to expect when they're leaving. Just general procedures, they really will help you out a lot. I know you hate hearing that from teaching schools where they're like procedure. But yeah, train the kids to have procedures. Don't try to do all the cleaning up yourself. You won't be able to. And just enjoy it. Go ahead and work on supplies now. Supplies are really a big challenge in public schools and in schools in general. Any type of school with any budget, getting the supplies is a deal. So go ahead and work on that now before the school year starts. If you're wanting to post for your school or for your art program, I think that is a great idea. I've shared so many people like different ideas, and it's really great to get feedback on those. So just do it. But again, be genuine. I don't think you should put children's names or faces on there. And I think there's policies against that at specific schools, maybe even the whole state without permission. But so be cautious of that, but share what you did and show what you loved. And people will love to see that. People love to see it. I want to see it. People love to see it. So share yourself, follow Whole Schools, go to Whole Schools, find a teacher that will help you as you get started and reach out.
Charlotte just shared the dates for our upcoming Whole Schools conference in the chat. It's July 10th through 12th in Hattiesburg.
And it's really so valuable. There's a lot of professional developments you can go to that won't be very valuable. This is not one of those. This is every moment of Whole Schools will be something that you can use in your own classroom. So not a waste of time, quite the opposite.
I've never seen a group of adults enjoy themselves more.
Right. You'll be very silly by the end of the week too. Like it's really a nice time. So strategies for planning, we've kind of touched on this a little bit. You can plan posts in advance. This is where we really should pull my wife in. She is the one with the whiteboard of a brain that knows what's going on here, and very fortunate to have her behind this. Without her, I wouldn't even be like awake today. So it's very good that I have somebody that strong and good at what they're doing, helping me do this. But have a strategy, whether that is a list of content ideas that you've got. Like when I go through my comments and people comment stuff that I missed or something that they used to do, I just add it to a list, even if it's something that I don't think I'll use in the future. It's there. And then when we're sitting down and deciding what's going to happen this week or the next, we can go through that list and be like, I saw the word cattywampus. I hadn't thought about that. And then something comes from it. So just as you're going, keep the list. Don't think you can keep it in your brain. You can't. Put it on a list. Okay, best times for posting, strategies for posting. So hashtags are less important as they used to be. On Instagram, you don't want to do more than 7 hashtags. If you do more than that, they're going to register it as spam and it's not going to go anywhere. So no more than 7, really 5 is better. Best times. Now that is specific to you and your audience. And if you go onto your insights, your professional dashboard, you can see when people are on the most. And the reason why you want that is if your followers see your stuff first, if I just put my stuff my stuff out there at 9 o'clock this morning. That's not when most of my people are there. So it would go to the For You page, but the first few people to interact with it wouldn't be people that follow me. So it wouldn't get as much engagement as it would if it was the people that follow me. So you want the people that follow you and are engaged with you to see it first. So find out when they're on there. It's usually most everybody's is somewhere between 4 and like 9 p.m. And Fridays are a big day. Thursdays are a big day. Then it's also, there's like a 6 o'clock a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know what that is. I guess people are waking up scrolling on their phones, but find those times. And that's when you want to try to post around in there, because that's where your audience is. They'll see it, engage with it, and that's going to send it further and give you a better chance at it. As far as geotagging goes, I didn't start geotagging things until I really built up the audience and had a specific place. Like when I started talking about Laurel, then I started geotagging Laurel. But when you geotag a place, it sends it to like a lot of people in that area. So if I geotagged New Orleans the other day for that Louisiana tea party that I had to do, and got a bunch of New Orleans followers because it sent it to all of them, right? But if you're trying to be like a Laurel influencer or a Jackson influencer or like a guide to the South type of influencer, tag your place all the time. I tag Laurel all the time because I'm trying to take over that situation, and I want people to associate what I'm talking about with this town. I want people to want to come here because they like what I'm saying. So geotags are not going to take you far, but when somebody types in Laurel, Mississippi, I'm going to pop up and they're going to see my profile and I'll get to tell them about my town. So that's the whole thing. All right, next slide. And we've talked about algorithms. It's a puppy dog. You are training a cat to pay attention to you every day. Treat it like that. Treat it like you're training it. You want the same kind of content, same time, consistency, and every day. And the strategies to increase visibility are like what we said. Use those hashtags appropriately and be yourself mostly, and stay with your niche. If you train the algorithm right, you're going to be a lot more visible. Head on to the next one. Building a strong online presence. Yeah. Okay. So when somebody comes to your profile, you want it to be sort of cohesive. But again, like we said, people want genuine. So these very aesthetic feeds that you see that are all one color, people are turning away from those more and more. And if you look at their engagement rates, they're not as great. People don't want to see something that they can't attain. People want to see stuff that they're familiar with. So have fun with it. You can keep things similar. Like if you look at mine, there's not necessarily a theme, but there are all these backgrounds that I made in Canva, and they're kind of like pastel-ish a little bit, but they're whatever I want them to be, really. So you can have a curated image, but your presence should be built off of your content. That's what people should know you for, not the image, more about the content. Head on to the next one. Oh, how to get people to share your post without a giveaway. Make it be good. That's how. Share information, share things that are informative and funny and entertaining, and that's what people want to see. Share stuff that people want to share with their mama or their grandma. They want to show their sister this. That's the kind of stuff. All right, and so strategies for creating engaging content. Here's how you do that. Go back on your page after you've posted about 9 or 10 reels or videos. See which ones have the most engagement. See which ones have the most content. What did people like about it? What are they commenting on? What's their angle? And try to see it from their perspective. And then focus on that. So for instance, I noticed that when I talked about phrases like bless your heart, that really took off. So then I did another phrase, like I can't think of them right now off the top of my head, but that made me see that phrases were a thing people wanted to talk about, right? So now there's a phrases series. So just pay attention to what people enjoy on there. Okay, and then collaborating with influencers for marketing expensive art. So collaborating with influencers is such a weird thing. This whole thing is so weird, strange that that's even a thing. But influencers do have a big reach, and typically, like I know with my audience, if I tell people to go buy something, or if I tell people to go click on the link, there's going to be about 1,000 people altogether that might do that. I mean, more people click the link, but altogether might actually purchase the thing. So you've just got to look at it as a numbers game. How much are you willing to spend to get that much of an engagement? If you're an artist and you can get somebody to share your art, your very expensive art, then obviously that's a much bigger audience. So I think it is a good thing to do, but it is expensive to work with influence. It is expensive. It's expensive to me, especially as a public school teacher. I think it's absolutely absurd, the prices to do this with. So honestly, what I would do if I was an artist who was just starting out and I wanted to sell my art for a lot of money, but I didn't want to like have to pay a bunch of money, is I would slide into DMs. And here's a trick that I'm going to tell y'all how to do this that I noticed because I want I've noticed it from my own situation. So people send me messages all the time and it goes to all these different folders. And one folder is even like there's like a primary folder, a general folder, a request folder, and then at the bottom of the request folder, there's like a hidden request folder. I don't know what none of the things are that decide where you go for that, but I really only see the primary section. But how you can get into somebody's primary section is in there. If you mention them in your story, if you mention me in my story, in your story, it pops up in these mentions section. And if I like it, then it puts you in my primary folder. I think that's what I figured out so much. So if you're trying to get in touch with somebody, share their stuff in your stories and mention them. Make sure you tag them in it, and it'll give you a better chance of being noticed by them or seen by them. And if you build that engagement up, like when I see people that share my same stuff every time, and I literally can't go through all of it all day long. But if I see your name once or twice, I'm going to recognize that. And then if I saw your name pop up in a message, if I happen to, I'm more of a chance to click on it. So engage with them that way. Share their stories, the people that you want to work with, and slide into their DMs. It can't hurt. Everybody whose DMs I've slid into have messaged right back, besides Dolly Parton, and bless her heart, I'm sure she's not running her own Instagram, so nobody's upset with her. So head on to the next slide. Q&A, great. Okay, I wanted to make sure we had time for Q&A. I talked so much, which is very on brand. So now, what do you guys want to know? I know I talked a lot, but what can I tell you? And if we don't have any questions, that's totally fine. But is there any questions you have for me or questions you have about your Instagram or social media? I would love to answer.
Yeah, so if you want to ask a question to Landon, if you'll please put it in our chat. We took a bunch of questions right before, and I think we've talked a lot. You did a great job hitting all those questions we had come in. But we'll go ahead and go. How can you make an event feel personable?
Okay, so how can you make an event feel personable? I think this comes down to like our Southern nature. If you're in this, you probably are from the South. I don't know who it is that asked that, but how would you how would you make somebody feel welcome in your own home? Treat your space on the internet like your own home. Make sure that people are seen. Make sure that people are noticed. Give them the attention they're looking for, and just make it like it's in your own backyard. How would you treat people at your house? That's how you treat people in an online event or at an event in person.
Right. And then the next question we have is about how much time does it take you to make each video? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. There was a question before that I missed. When did you know you had made it?
Oh, have I made it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't feel like I've made it. I feel like I'm still hustling. But the Southern Living article this week was really a moment for me. I can't believe that. I read that magazine growing up every week looking for the house plans. So seeing my name there is really very, very surreal. Very surreal. A really surreal thing.
Great. I'm going to repeat that question. I jumped over. I apologize. About how much time does it take you to make each video?
How much time does it take? Okay, so if it is something that I'm just like stoked on talking about, or if I'm a chatterbox that day, like if I had the good coffee, I could make the video like, I'll just tell you my process. So I brainstorm with my wife. She tells me what we're going to talk about today. I disagree usually, and through that conversation, come up with something new, right? And then I just go set this phone down in my little studio room and talk to it for like 5 to 7 minutes, just literally talking to myself. And then I edit that down into the 3 minutes for TikTok and the 1.5 minutes for Instagram. That's their time limits. You can't go more than, you could do 10 minutes on TikToks, but I tried to stay 3 minutes on TikTok, 1.5 minutes on Instagram, and I just edit it down from there. So I just talk and talk. So it could be me talking for a few minutes and then me editing it down, and that could take about an hour. And then with captions and closed captions, maybe 30 minutes. So like on a very good day, I could get it done in an hour. A day where I'm being difficult, 2 to 3 hours. It just depends. It just depends on the content. It depends on the day and how good the coffee was for the day. I think I found the chat so I can look through all this. Let's see. about what's a good formula to figure out how much to charge someone if they want to advertise something for them. Okay, so that is so hard. Figuring out how to charge people for advertising, that is the most difficult thing for me. And I will tell you, as a public school teacher, I'm very bad at it because I can't believe those numbers, right? But you do need to charge what you're worth. So you need to look at your engagement rate, find your engagement rate, find your number of followers, type that in on the internet, and that'll give you a good idea of about where you need to be looking for. I started lower than those average numbers. I immediately was told that I was wrong. I'll even tell you, Bush's Baked Beans, I charged them less than half of what they ended up giving me for it because they said it was too low. So know your worth. It is worth something. The audience is worth something. It's more than what I thought it would ever be. But look it up. You can find that. You can find that on the internet. Becky Collins, who I think knows very much a lot about Walmart High School and still works in that building running our hospital. If this is the Becky Collins I know. What is the best link for videos on Instagram? Okay, it depends on what you're doing. If you are doing what I'm doing, do the whole minute and a half. We're having conversations, right? I want you to come and stay. But 7 seconds, there's different categories. 7 seconds are videos that are going to go super, super viral, but maybe not be super engaged. 15 seconds, pretty viral, decent engagement. 30 seconds is kind of the sweet spot for viral going videos. After 30 seconds, it's going to go into just kind of your own audience. But really, it's more about doing the same thing every day. 7-second videos every day, 15-second videos every day. Whatever your formula is, stick with it, and that's going to take you pretty far. Avoiding being hacked. Set up your two-step. Oh, you lost followers because of that? My Lord. Set up your two-step factor identification. Use Google Authenticator, and use a VPN for sure. You're very welcome for all this insight. I hope it was actually worth it. Any tips for getting traction with non-video posts, or is the goal to move forward video? That is a very good question because this all started with not videos, didn't it? With posts. I think the same things apply, but I'm not an expert on non-video posts, so I really can't tell you much about it. And when I read the notes they send us from Instagram and TikTok, I tune out when it gets to the photo notes because I know I'm not doing that. It's a fault of mine. But I imagine it's hashtags. I imagine it's being consistent, and I imagine it's having a similar product. All right. I am so glad for all of this and how easy it is for you to come up with the ideas and posts, and how far out do you plan for the topics. In an ideal world, I would have them planned out, but I don't a lot of times. I've got a general running list, but I really don't ever know what I'm going to do that day until I do it. I have this idea that I'm going to get a lot prepped ahead of time, and now that we're out of school, that's my goal. But it's just kind of make it happen. How you make it happen. How do you keep year-long engagement with something that only lasts a month? Speaking for Festival South. Okay, so Festival South. If somebody could remind me what Festival South is, I've recognized that and I know what it is. But tell me what that is, and I can help you with that. But basically, you want to turn your Festival South account into a persona almost, not just this festival, isn't it? This is Festival South's account. Think about the Duolingo owl. Well, I don't know if you've been on TikTok. That went very viral on TikTok because people loved the owl itself. It wasn't that we loved Duolingo, it was that we loved their marketing and we loved this account they had made. So take the Festival South account itself and turn it into a personality. And then year long, you've got people that are interacting with your Festival South account. Yes, that's one. Yeah, okay, so it's a music and art festival. So find out what the personality of Festival South is and build on that. And I mean, it doesn't have to be like a character, but build on that throughout the year and let the account itself be something people want to come to for information or for entertainment, comedy, and then people will be there all year round. I think that's most of the questions that we got to. I have just super appreciated all of this. I can't believe y'all came to listen to me talk. And I would love to talk to any of you. My email is in my Instagram profile. And if you message me on Instagram, I never know where that's going to go. But if you email me, I do see the email. So I would love to hear from all of y'all. And I appreciate this. And I hope I was helpful.
Thank you so much, Landon. This was such a great Ask a Professional session. You were amazing, and I was laughing and entertained the entire time and very much enjoyed it. Thank you for your knowledge and your time.
Well, thank y'all so much. These are the people that you need to find out. The ones that are in these chat and running this, they're the resources, y'all. Charlotte, all the people that you see, Rob, they're the ones that can help you out.
Absolutely. Well, thank y'all for coming out today. I need more coffee. We'll be having another Ask Professional session coming up in July, and we'll have more information about that soon on our social media, our website, our eBlast. Our eBlast is a great tool if you want to follow us. There is a form on our website. Be sure to subscribe. Thank y'all for joining us this afternoon, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.